My name is Sarah Chen. 3 weeks before my wedding, I discovered my fiancé had spent his bachelor weekend in Vegas with multiple women, calling me boring and claiming he was only marrying me for stability. What I did next didn't just end our engagement, it destroyed his entire life. And honestly, he deserved every single consequence. If you've ever felt the satisfaction of watching karma work its magic, smash that subscribe button. Hit like if you believe betrayal should have real consequences, and stick around because this story proves that sometimes the best revenge is simply letting the truth speak for itself. I'm 28 years old, work as a software engineer for a fintech company here in Seattle, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I was engaged to Marcus Rivera, a 31-year-old marketing director I'd been with for 5 years. We met at a tech conference where he spilled coffee on my laptop during a networking session. We laughed about it, and that clumsy moment turned into the relationship I thought would last forever. Marcus was charming, ambitious, and everyone said we made the perfect couple. I was the stable, reliable one, the woman who had her career together, who could cook his favorite meals after his long days, who supported his dreams of starting his own agency. For 5 years, I was his biggest cheerleader, his safety net, his constant source of encouragement. But over the past 6 months, something has shifted. Marcus started going out more with his college buddies, staying late at work events, coming home with stories about clients and colleagues that felt incomplete. When I'd ask follow-up questions, he'd get defensive. "You're being paranoid, Sarah," he'd say. "Don't you trust me?" And I'd back down because I didn't want to be the controlling fiancé. I believed in giving him space, in trusting the man I was planning to marry. His best man, Derek, had been pushing hard for this Vegas bachelor weekend. "One last wild night before you're tied down forever," he kept saying. Marcus would laugh and agree, but something in his eyes looked hungry, not for marriage, but for escape. The morning he left for Vegas, I made us breakfast and watched him pack. He threw in clothes I'd never seen before, expensive button-downs, designer jeans, cologne I hadn't bought him. When I asked about the new wardrobe, he shrugged. "The guys wanted us to look good. It's Vegas." I kissed him goodbye at our apartment door. He smelled like the aftershave I'd given him for his birthday, but he was checking his phone even as I hugged him. "I love you," I told him. "Love you too," he said. But his attention was already elsewhere. After he left, I sat in our kitchen drinking coffee from the mug he'd given me last Christmas, "World's Best Fiancé" in fading letters. Something felt wrong, but I pushed the feeling down. That afternoon, I got a text, "Made it safe, miss you already." But when I called that evening, it went straight to voicemail. Same thing Saturday morning. I told myself he was just having fun with his friends, but deep down, I knew something was off. The way he'd been pulling away for months, the way he'd stopped talking about our future with the same excitement, the way his eyes would wander when we were out together. I grew up watching my parents build a marriage through 30 years of showing up for each other, even when it was hard. My mom worked double shifts as a nurse while my dad went back to school for his engineering degree. They taught me that love meant partnership, sacrifice, and building something together. That's what I'd been doing with Marcus for 5 years. When he wanted to pursue his MBA, I picked up freelance projects to help with tuition. When his startup idea failed and he was depressed for months, I covered our expenses and reminded him daily that failure was just redirection. When he wanted to move to a more expensive apartment to match his professional image, I agreed, even though it stretched our budget. I thought that's what partners did, you supported each other through everything. But looking back, I started noticing the changes. After his promotion 6 months ago, he'd started going to more networking events, staying out later with colleagues. He'd come home talking about his boss Linda, and how she really understood his career vision. "She thinks I have real leadership potential," he'd say, and I'd smile and ask about his day. Then there were his friends. Derek, who'd gone through a messy divorce and constantly talked about how marriage killed passion, and Jason from work, who bragged about his dating app conquests. They'd invite Marcus out for drinks and he'd come home later, and later, sometimes forgetting details about where they'd been. "We just needed to blow off steam," he'd say when I'd ask. "You wouldn't understand the pressure I'm under." I started feeling like I was competing for my own fiancé's attention. He'd be on his phone during dinner, texting with friends about plans I wasn't part of. When I'd suggest weekend activities, He'd already made other commitments. The worst part was how he started looking at me like I was predictable, safe, like I was something he'd outgrown. 2 weeks before Vegas, we went to his company's annual gala. I watched him network with colleagues, saw how animated he became around certain people, especially Linda and her circle. He introduced me as his fiancé, but it felt perfunctory, like I was an accessory rather than his partner. When we got home that night, he was quiet. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Just thinking about work stuff," he said, but he stayed up another hour texting someone. I should have confronted him then, should have demanded answers. But I loved him, and I was terrified of what I might discover. Sunday came and went with minimal contact. His flight was supposed to land at 3 p.m., and I'd planned to pick him up, maybe grab dinner somewhere nice, and hear about his weekend. Instead, I got a text at noon. "Flight delayed, getting in late, don't wait up." No heart emoji, no miss you, just information. When I called, it went straight to voicemail again. That evening, my phone rang. Not Marcus, my cousin Lisa, who works in hotel management for a major chain in Las Vegas. "Sarah, we need to talk," she said. "Can I come over?" Lisa lived an hour away in Tacoma, but she was at my door within 45 minutes. When I let her in, she had her laptop and a look I'd never seen before. "Sit down," she said. "What's going on?" She opened her laptop. Security footage, black and white but crystal clear, the hotel bar from Friday night. There was Marcus in one of those new shirts, his arm around a woman I'd never seen before. She was laughing, leaning into him, and his hand was resting possessively on her waist. "There's more," Lisa said quietly. The next clip showed them in the elevator, kissing, her hands tangled in his hair, his body pressing her against the elevator wall with the desperation of someone who'd been waiting for this moment. I stared at the screen, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. "How did you get this?" "I work security coordination for the chain. When I saw Marcus's name on the guest list, I thought I'd check in, make sure you guys were having fun. Then I saw the incident reports." "Incident reports?" She clicked to another file. "Noise complaints, room 847, Friday night, Saturday night. Multiple. Visitors." The words hit me like ice water. Multiple visitors? "Sarah, there were 4 different women over 2 nights. The footage shows everything." I sat there, staring at my engagement ring, a modest solitaire that had taken Marcus 3 months to save for, back when he made less money and still seemed to value what we had together. "I'm sorry," Lisa said. "I didn't know if I should tell you, but you did the right thing." I stood up, my legs unsteady but my mind suddenly crystal clear. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This wasn't Vegas making him do things out of character. This was who he really was, and I'd been too trusting to see it. "Can you send me copies of everything?" Lisa nodded. "What are you going to do?" I looked at her laptop screen one more time. Marcus was laughing in the footage, looking more carefree than I'd seen him in months. Certainly more than he ever looked with me anymore. "I'm gonna disappear." I spent Sunday night making lists, not emotional lists, practical ones. Wedding vendors to call, deposits to cancel, flights to change for family members, my portion of our shared accounts to transfer, utility bills to switch back to my name only. Marcus still hadn't called. By Monday afternoon, I'd canceled the venue, the caterer, and the photographer. Lost some deposits, recovered others. The wedding planner was surprisingly understanding. "Happens more than you'd think," she said, "better now than after." I was going through our shared cloud storage when I found more evidence. Photos from his phone that had auto-synced Marcus with different women. Screenshots of group chats planning his freedom weekend. One message thread made my stomach turn. "Marcus, can't wait to get this out of my system before I'm stuck with boring Sarah forever. Derek. Dude, you sure you want to go through with the wedding?" Marcus. "She's stable, has a good income, and wants kids. It's the smart choice. But I need this weekend." Another exchange with someone named Becca. "Becca, looking forward to Friday. Your fiancé doesn't know?" Marcus. "Sarah's clueless. She's so trusting it's almost pitiful." I screenshotted everything, then deleted my access to his accounts and changed all my passwords. At 6 p.m. I started packing his belongings. Everything he'd left in our apartment, clothes, books, his collection of vintage watches he was so proud of. I folded everything carefully, the way he liked it, and put it all in boxes with neat labels. My phone rang at 8 p.m. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. Hey babe, finally landed. I'm exhausted. I just wanted to say goodnight. See you tomorrow after work. Love you. His voice sounded different. Guilty, maybe. Or just tired from 2 days of betraying everything we'd built together. I blocked his number. Then I blocked him on every social media platform, every messaging app, every way he had to reach me digitally. I wanted him to come home in silence, to wonder, to worry, to feel even a fraction of the confusion and abandonment I was experiencing. Monday morning, I called in sick and spent the day moving his belongings to our building's storage unit. I left a note with the property manager. Marcus Rivera's belongings. He'll pick them up when he's ready. I changed the locks on our apartment. By Tuesday, he was panicking. I could tell because mutual friends started calling. Marcus is trying to reach you, my friend Kelly said. He seems really worried, says something might have happened to you. Tell him I'm fine, I said. What's going on? He seems genuinely upset. I almost laughed. He was upset. Just tell him to check the storage unit. Wednesday, he showed up at my office. I watched from my cubicle as he talked to reception, gesturing frantically. His hair was messy, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. He looked panicked. My manager came over. Some guy downstairs says he's your fiancé, says it's a family emergency. I don't have a fiancé, I said without looking up from my code. She went back downstairs. Through the window, I watched her deliver the message. I saw his face crumple with realization. He stood there for 10 minutes, staring up at our building, probably hoping I'd come down. I didn't. Thursday morning, his friend Derek called me. Sarah, what the hell is going on? Marcus is falling apart. He says you won't talk to him. There's nothing to talk about. Come on, whatever happened in Vegas, you guys can work through it. He loves you. I hung up. That afternoon, I drove to Portland and put an offer on a small house in the Pearl District. I'd been saving for our wedding, but now that money would fund my fresh start instead. By Friday, word was spreading. Marcus had told people our wedding was postponed due to a family emergency, but our friends weren't stupid. When the bride disappears and blocks the groom on everything, it's not hard to figure out what really happened. I wasn't Sarah the victim anymore. I was Sarah the ghost. 3 months after I disappeared, the full truth came out in the most devastating way possible for Marcus. His friend Derek, the one who'd called me trying to play peacemaker, had kept screenshots of everything. The group chat from Vegas where Marcus bragged about his conquests. Photos he'd sent of himself with different women. Text messages mocking our relationship and calling me naive. Derek had been sitting on the evidence, probably hoping Marcus would come clean or show some remorse. Instead, Marcus had been telling everyone I'd abandoned him without explanation. Playing the victim, claiming I'd had some kind of breakdown and disappeared, leaving him heartbroken and confused. The final straw came when Marcus started posting on social media about moving forward and learning to trust again after abandonment. Photos of himself looking thoughtful and wounded, captions about resilience and finding strength after betrayal. That's when Derek snapped. He posted everything, screenshots, photos, the entire Vegas weekend laid out in excruciating detail. He tagged Marcus, tagged his family, tagged our mutual friends. The caption read, "Since Marcus keeps lying about why Sarah left, here's the truth." I wasn't on social media anymore, but Lisa called me, barely containing her laughter. "You need to see this," she said. "It's everywhere." The post had hundreds of comments within hours. People who'd known us both were appalled. His family was mortified. But the best part was what happened next. Someone had forwarded the evidence to Linda, Marcus's boss, the one he'd been networking with so enthusiastically. She didn't just distance herself professionally, she took the screenshots to HR and their company's ethics board. Marcus got fired within a week. Turns out his networking had involved some inappropriate behavior with clients' wives at company events. The Vegas evidence was just the final straw that made the company decide he was a liability. Without his job, he couldn't afford his expensive apartment. I heard through mutual friends that he'd moved back in with his parents at 31, trying to figure out what went wrong. Meanwhile, I was thriving. The Portland move had been exactly what I needed. I'd landed a senior developer position at a growing startup, making more money than ever before. I'd bought furniture I actually liked, joined a hiking group, and started taking pottery classes. I was living for myself for the first time in years. The best part about disappearing completely was watching the truth catch up to everyone who'd enabled Marcus's behavior. Derek faced social backlash for his role in planning the Vegas weekend. The women he'd been with started getting harassment online when their photos went viral. 6 months after I vanished, Marcus tried to reach out through a mutual friend, asking for forgiveness and a chance to explain. I sent back a simple message. Some actions don't deserve explanations, they deserve consequences. I learned that the hardest thing about betrayal isn't the initial pain, it's trusting yourself enough to walk away when someone shows you who they really are. Sometimes the most powerful response to being called boring is proving that your stability was never the problem. Their character was. What do you think? Was my disappearing act justified, or should I have confronted him directly? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of karma coming full circle, smash that like button and subscribe for more tales of justice served cold. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? Let me know below.